Hello, welcome to Nomine's Granular Synthesis Tutorial Part 1. In the words of Curtis Rhodes, the godfather of digital granular synthesis, we're going to be composing at the micro sound level. Basically, we take a sound, we break it into tiny particles. Each of those particles will be doing different things in regard to pitch, envelope, duration. Some may be reversed, some may be overlapping. Those particles are then put back together in a different order to create what we call a cloud of sound. Immense sound design capabilities. We can make pads and ambience out of the likes of snare drums, hi-hats, rides. Very, very powerful sound design tool. We're going to be using Alchemy, which is a new addition to the Logic X program 10.2. Alchemy has been around for a number of years. Alchemy 2 is the most powerful it's ever seen the program. Very, very powerful, really, really good for sound design and used by a lot of sound design engineers around the world. So we're going to do a quick overview of some of the basic functions we're going to be using today, and then we're going to get stuck into a practical task. So our sound is broken into particles, put back together. We have control over where we want our stream to start, so we can position the playhead anywhere throughout our sound to start our stream, and that's determined by the position control. Modulation can be added, so we can modulate filters, volume, and different parameters. We can stretch the rate that the playback travels through the sample without affecting the pitch. We can actually freeze the stream, so it actually just focuses on a series of grains. And then we can apply different effects, distortion, reverb, etc. to enhance the sound design process. We can pitch the audio down without affecting the actual tempo. We can change the volume, which is pretty much what it says on the tin there. We can change the size of each grain, anywhere from 2 to 230 milliseconds in Alchemy. And then we have the density parameter, which determines how many grains are being overlapped at any one time, anywhere from 1 to 10. And then we have the window control, which determines the envelope shape that is applied to each grain. So attack, decay, sustain, release. So we can have individual control over that too. Okay, we're going to jump into Logic X now. So first thing we're going to do is open Alchemy. Then what we need to do is default the patch by clicking where it says File and going to Clear. Mine's already been defaulted, but if it's the first time you're opening it, it will probably open the factory default. So we want to do this to ensure that everything's been cleared, all the parameters and all the envelopes have been cleared. Okay, next thing we want to do is we're going to import our own sound. I've bounced a 4-bar loop out of one of my tracks, a track called Confusion, which was the 170 drum and bass track on the Inside Nomine album. And we're going to twist that up by means of granular synthesis and then use it as some ambience. So what we're going to do is in source A, import audio. And what's essential is we change the engine to granular. That will enable us to process the sound in granular mode. Just going to search for the sound Confusion. And that's it. We're going to import that. And now the sound is in there. If we click on A to ensure we can now control the granular elements of the sound. So I'm just going to experiment and have a play with the different parameters and try to explain as we go along what each of those are doing. It might be a good idea to, alongside the video, practice with your own section too. So the speed. If it's set to 0, it's just going to be frozen. So we can change the position. And already you've got some really cool things going on there that could be used. We can change the size of the grains, currently set to 116. If we change that down to about 50-ish. Now we're going to turn a filter on, and then we're going to control the filter cutoff with an LFO. So if I click on that, I can then go to my settings here, and I can initiate the low frequency oscillator to control the filter. And if you watch here, you'll see what it's doing. We can change the rate, the speed of how that filter moves. We can change the depth of we can do the same with the resonance. So if we click on the parameter, we can then add an LFO here. Same principles. So then we can start to add some effects down here. So let's go for reverb, some distortion, and let's try some delay. Let's slow the speed down of how fast this playhead is traveling through the sound. Let's change the position slightly, so we're going to start it from a different point. We're going to change the amount of grains that are overlapping at any one time by means of the density parameter. And we're going to now add an LFO to the drive of the filter as well. And we change the start point of that cutoff so it comes in a bit lower. can go into each effect and change how each of those effects are acting. So we can add some bit crusher to the distortion, which basically degrades the sound. You can hear that hiss and that low kind of bit depth. And there we have it, an introduction into granular synthesis. We could then sequence some of this into Logic, bounce it down, chuck it in our existing track that we took the 4-bar loop from, and use it as an introduction or a breakdown section in that track. This is a very, very brief introduction. This plugin, this synth is very powerful, and we're going to go a lot deeper in future tutorials, but this is just a very, very brief introduction. Hope you find it useful. Until next time, peace.